Hey guys, and welcome to my review of Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft, developed by BitGolem and released on Steam September 24th, 2021. Dagon is a 3D point-and-click narrative experience based on the cult short story of the same title, authored by the father of cosmic horror, H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraftian horror, sometimes used interchangeably with cosmic horror, is a subgenre of horror fiction that centres around the terror of the unknowable and the incomprehensible. His work emphasises themes of cosmic dread, forbidden and dangerous knowledge, non-human influences on humanity, religion and superstition, fate, inevitability, and madness. Most people know of Lovecraft from his popular Call of Cthulhu story. This mythos has really taken off in the last 20 years, with its lore being brought to life in video games, board games, and films. There have been many video game entries set in this mythos, the one you might know best being 2006's Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth, which has you playing a detective investigating strange goings-on in a small isolated village. This is based on Lovecraft's story The Shadow over Innsmouth. I remember this one being good and is worth a look if you want to play a more involved action-type game set in the world of Cthulhu, rather than a point-and-click story one. There's also a game set in the Sherlock universe called Sherlock Holmes: The Awakened. This one has you playing as the famous detective and his partner on a quest to find out who's been kidnapping people in London. This journey ultimately gets tied up with Cthulhu stuff, and I remember it being quite enjoyable. Upon replaying parts of it recently, I have come to notice it hasn't aged that well and feels pretty clunky, which is a shame because the story was actually pretty good. Whilst we're on the subject of related Lovecraft stuff, there's also a film called Dagon that came out in 2001, which is confusingly based on the story of The Shadow over Innsmouth, despite being named Dagon. Anyway, it's a fairly B-grade horror film, but serves its purpose in delivering some creepy moments and dodgy acting. It's worth a look if you can tolerate these kinds of films. Apparently one of the lead actors died shortly after its release, presumably to save face about it not being a box office hit. Who knows though. So on to the game. Dagon has you stepping into the shoes of a morphine-addicted naval officer who finds himself adrift at sea after an incident with a German ship during World War I.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
You fall asleep on a small lifeboat you manage to escape on and awake from a dream in a strange and alien landscape.
The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous. When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
The character's journey continues through this nightmarish landscape until he stumbles upon a monolith. But I won't say any more about that, as the game is only about 20 to 30 minutes long and I don't want to spoil it for you. The developers of Dagon have done an amazing job at faithfully recreating this short Lovecraft story into a graphically beautiful, atmospheric and frightening experience. It's a simple, well-narrated game that serves as a great entry into Lovecraft's work. It's also free, so you've got nothing to lose trying it out. I highly recommend it for fans or anyone curious about this genre of fiction. I'm going to leave it at that, guys, as it's a short game and I don't want to spoil anything more. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch my review, and a big thank you to my patrons. Also a quick shout out to my friend Shane for picking up Lovecraft's story collection for me. Cheers, buddy.